Hi, everyone. My name's Perry. If you haven't already seen some of my past videos or read anything in the series previously, I write and illustrate Floof and Feathers webcomic, which is an ongoing series based on our real-life pets, our two dogs, Finnegan and Pippin, as well as our cockatoo Olivia, and just some of the silly antics they get up to. This week, I'm doing something a little bit different with this comic from what you usually see, and I'll get into that as I go ahead and get started with inking this one right now. So what I mean when I say I'm doing something a little bit different is normally, these comics are, if not based in, they are at least heavily inspired by some of the real life antics that our animals get up to on a day-to-day basis. This one, not so much. Not really telling a story with this one either, as most of them usually have some kind of story focus. But yeah, this time it's a little bit different. Um, I'm doing what I'm calling Floof and Feathers Through the Ages, and just doing some little one-off drawings inspired by different periods of art history from around the world, and how Floof and Feathers might have looked in some of these different art veins and art styles. So that's what we're going for this week instead. And also in terms of doing something a little bit different, that's all kind of part of it. I like to think that I have developed something of a consistent style when it comes to drawing the comic series, which I mean, I feel like that's a goal that you should strive for if you have some kind of uh, serialized artwork, something ongoing like this. You want to be able to draw your characters consistently and make them recognizable from episode to episode. You don't ever want to be confused as to who's who. So in that respect, it's a good thing. But that being said, I would like to, being someone who is still relatively relatively new to the whole art community, I do want to continue experimenting with different styles, trying to branch out a little bit more and learn how to do some different things. So this is kind of me just in the moment, experimenting with some different styles and just seeing how it works. So it could be successful, it could be an absolute flop. I have no idea yet, but you are going to find out here with me live on the internet today. So we'll see how this goes. And part of the reason why I wanted to do something like this is because I have noticed before in the past I've done some other comics in the series that have just been little one-off stories that took on a different style or a different tone. I've done a couple that were kind of inspired by the gritty detective noir comics. Lots of black and white, heavy use of shadows. I did one that was kind of a manga ninja inspired story a few months back. Um, and whenever I've done something like that that goes in a little bit of a different direction, and adopts one of these new styles temporarily, it always does seem to get the pretty good response from people. Readers really seem to enjoy that. So this is just me deciding to see, okay, what else can I do that's different, and just try to get that same response, and maybe not do the same thing over and over and over and over again. So just kind of testing my own limits, seeing what I can do. Also, you can see here just in the drawing, Finnegan's eye here is actually very different from what it was in the outline. Um, this one of the art styles is I'm trying to do something based on art from Egyptian hieroglyphics. Hoping this will turn out as nice as I imagine it. I'm pretty happy with the initial outline you can see underneath this. So just have to make sure I don't stray too far from that. We should be okay. This is actually one of the first ideas I had for this particular uh, comic for this week when I wanted to do some different art styles from history. One of the first things I thought of was the Egyptian hieroglyphic art. That was actually always one of my favorites when I was little. I've always loved that. So I thought it would be fun to try to draw Pip and Finn in that style. It even gave them the kind of human forms and muscles. You know how the Egyptians would depict their gods and all their artwork. They would have the animal heads and then give them the more human bodies. So that's kind of the same idea of what I'm going for here. And actually, you know what? Just in the moment, as I'm saying that, I'm going to go ahead, take off that spot where you would normally see some of their colored fur, because they're not going to have that in that panel. I think that might actually look a little too weird, even for a drawing of a person with an animal's head like that, and that's saying something. So we're actually, yeah, I'm making a decision in the moment to remove that. I don't think that would quite work. That's why I really enjoy doing the initial rough sketch and a preemptive outline before I actually draw the finished product that you're watching now, just because that gives me some of that extra time to, or not extra time, but it gives me gives you room to sort of decide what works and what doesn't. You're not too locked into anything from the start. You can go ahead and make those changes as it goes. Go ahead and do that. Add his human legs there. And I know that's exactly what it's supposed to look like, but it is still very, very unsettling to draw as someone who has ever only drawn our animals as animals. Drawing them to look kind of human is I don't like it. it's it's actually a little uncomfortable if I'm being honest. So hopefully this is the only time that I will ever have to do this. Unless people really like this, and then I might have to do an entire series like this. I don't know if I would enjoy that. So no, we'll just see what happens. Of course, we will draw Olivia as a bird-headed pharaoh. Seems very fitting that That's probably the position she would be in. Not quite. Let's try that again. That looks a little better. There we go. Okay, I like that. That's nice. Olivia's not currently up here watching this. She's in for her morning nap right now, but I'm sure that if she saw this, she would be very pleased to see herself depicted in such a powerful way. And actually, it's probably for the best that I don't show her this because if you know anything about Olivia from what I've mentioned of her in previous live streams and in the comic series in general, then you know that something like this would just go straight to her head. Her ego is already too big as it is. So I don't think she needs to get any ideas. You can see there, I drew her with bird feet, but I think in keeping with the, I guess, tradition, you could call it, of what hieroglyphic arts looked like, I should probably change that to more human looking feet. Olivia would not be happy about that, I'm sure. She very much likes having her talons. They're nice and sharp. She can rip all her toys apart with them. She can threaten people with them. I don't think she would want to have human feet or hands. She seems very happy with her wings and talons. At least from what I can tell. I've never heard otherwise. So I will go ahead and make that correction here. But again, that's all part of why I do these outlines first, so I don't shoehorn in myself into anything that I'm not happy with later. Also help if I could talk today, apparently, but yeah, I guess that's not super important as long as the comic gets finished on time. That's really the most important thing. And then you probably also saw over in the first panel, I have something over there as well. Um, that that one I'm actually not going to do until after the inking for the rest of the comic is finished, just because of the fact that that one is actually not going to have the uh, the black border outline around it like you see in the rest of the comic. That particular piece of art inspiration is, I mean, I'm sure you can tell just from the outline, it's based on um, old cave paintings. So wouldn't make sense to really give that one an outline like everything else. or at least not in the same way that you would see in a comic. So for that one, I'm just going to go ahead and paint the background of that one first, and then paint those images with a rough paintbrush, just to kind of give it a more authentic look of a cave painting. That's the plan, anyway. I think that's done. Also, I don't know if the microphone on my headset is picking it up or not, but the dogs just got very excited about something. And by something, I mean probably nothing, because they get excited about a lot of stuff. Okay, so Egyptian hieroglyphics are finished. Let's move on to our more traditional, I guess you could call it traditional portraiture painting. Uh, Now, this panel is actually inspired by a gift that my fiance got me for my birthday 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago now, I think. Um, and it's a painting of our first dog, Finnegan, and our bird, Olivia, just dressed up in these really fancy, over the top, um, kind of medieval Renaissance costumes. And it's just so ridiculous and adorable, and I love it. And it is sitting downstairs on the table in our living room next to the sofa, just so that we can see it every day when we're down there. And I absolutely love it. So I thought it would make sense to use that as inspiration for this panel here. So we're gonna draw Finnegan in his very fancy attire, trying to give him a little bit more realistic eyes. Definitely more so than what I usually draw in the comic. Or I think my usual style of drawing eyes, if anyone could tell, was very heavily inspired by old cartoons from like the 1920s and 30s. It just has that really big, like high, like Betty Boop type arch to the eyes and everything. Just because I'm going for that really silly, cartoony feel. It's what works for me. Also, if I'm being honest, I'm not really the best with drawing eyes. I don't know. It's it's one of those oddly specific things that I just seem to struggle with. So I figured, you know what? I'll just save myself some pain down the road and just go over the top cartoony with them right from the start and just set the bar really low for myself, which was great when I was just starting out because I had never done digital artwork before, and I had not drawn comics at the time since I mean, probably since I was like 12 or 13. So it had been a very long time, and admittedly, I was very much out of practice. So it was really just, anything that I could do to make life easier for myself. I was all about it. I just realized doing the coloring and shading on this rough later is probably not going to be a whole lot of fun, but oh well, I did it to myself. I have only myself to blame. Whiskers. I just realized too with the hieroglyphics one, I'm going to have to consciously remind myself not to draw speckles on them, which is something I am not used to. Um, it's going to be very weird, actually. I just realized to purposely draw out their speckles, just because it's so uncharacteristic. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's a little too bulbous. There we go. Nice simple little frill. Uh, there we go. Just a nice little waistcoat there under his jackets. Let me see. Let me remind myself what side the buttons go on. That's one of those small little details that is, just probably, probably good to remember. I'm gonna bring that out just a little bit more to the edge. There. Okay, I like that. Then we'll go ahead, add in Olivia. This one is especially different from what I normally do. For anyone who has read the comics previously, you know that Olivia's stylized representation in the comic series is especially exaggerated just because both of her eyes are usually visible from the same angle, and that is not at all the case with most birds, especially not with her. Her eyes are very far to the side of her head, so you can usually only ever see one at a time, and they really are just large dark dots on the side of her head with a little bit of color around them. So this is especially different from how Olivia is normally drawn. Give her a nice little necklace there, make her look all fancy. Of course, I would never give her jewelry in real life because it would last, maybe all of maybe 10 seconds if we were lucky before she found a way to demolish it. But I mean, that's what she does. So, yeah, that's not going to happen for her, unfortunately. Even though I have no doubt that she would love it. There we are. Perfect. Okay. And then finally, for this last panel, This I'm very much looking forward to trying this one. I don't know if it's obvious, but this is inspired by the Salvador Dali painting with the melting clocks. Um, and I say that, and the title of that painting is completely escaping my memory. I think it's called A Memory of Time, I want to say. Um, yeah, don't hold me to that. That's what I think it is. If I had to guess. Um, but so that's what this one is based on. And as you can, this is going to be Pippin just draped over the tree branch, hanging limp like he's melting. Th In all honesty, out of everything in this week's comic, this last panel is probably the least exaggerated out of any of them. Pippin does this in real life, I want to say on average, probably at least a dozen times a day. If you pick him up in your arms, he will melt and drape over and look just like this. So yeah, this is probably the one out of uh, out of today's drawing that is actually not exaggerated. He's going for a little bit of a surrealist vibe. The goal was to go with either specific artworks or at the very least art styles that were each a little bit different and fairly recognizable in their own right. So that's why you have here it's based on some of Salvador Dali's work with surrealism, and then of course the ancient Egyptian arts, the Baroque portraiture paintings, just trying to make sure that everything is easily recognizable, or at least as much as possible with what I'm able to do with it. Because I know I'll be the first to admit I am certainly no Salvador Dali, but I will do my best to do my best to live up to that image if I can, at least even just for this one little drawing here. Fix there. Pip some kind of wet noodle legs there. And I think since I put this little line for the horizon there, I think that should be about everything finished as far as inking. So now I can go ahead, start color, and I'm just going to turn that off real quick to double check. Oh yeah, Pip looks good and melted there. Excellent. Let's see. Yes, I think we're all ready. Now, also, I'm going to do this one a little bit differently too, because anyone who has watched one of these live streams, or if you've seen one of my drawing videos on my YouTube channel, you know that I normally do everything by color. And I'll do okay, everything that needs to be colored black, I'll do that first. Everything that needs this certain shade of caramel brown, I'll color that. Doing it color by color. However, just because of the fact that each of these panels is completely standalone and different, I think it's going to be easier to just color it panel by panel, probably. At least that's the easiest way in my mind, I think. So I will go ahead, start with this first one, and I'm going to keep the outline up just for now until I get that cave painting finished. Go ahead and pop that in there. Kind of a stony, rough texture. Uh, okay. Oh, there we go. That's the brush I was looking for, stucco. So, go ahead and move that on top. Now we can go ahead. Think. Let's see. Uh, okay, it's actually a little too small. Okay, there we go. Okay, that looks pretty rough. Maybe color that in just a little bit more, but I like that. Okay. All right, not bad. There we go. I like that. Now we can go ahead to our second panel. This is the one where I'm going to have to remind myself, don't add the speckles. Anyone who's watching, if you're on the live stream, if you see me start to put speckles on here, send a message in the chat and tell me no. Just remind me, because I'm almost certain that I will forget. Also, not going to do the usual shading that I would in this one. I don't think they really did a lot of that. Let's see. What though? They may not have speckles, but they are still going to have their whiskers. That is important. Okay. Let's see. That actually needs to be filled in. Okay. Head. Do some work on Olivia's headdress here. Should be a little bit bigger. Yes, I like that very much. She's gonna have yeah, it's gonna be gold. Make it look a little nicer. And then I think actually I'm gonna make that its own layer. And I think we'll do, if I can find the right thing, of course. Do something similar to the cave painting, just give it a little bit of texture there. Actually, that looks good. Okay, make sure that background's all filled in. There we go. That looks nice. And then I'll blend everything else together and give it some texture too, once that's all done. Okay, here comes the uncomfortable part, giving them human bodies. Oh, I do. It looks so weird, but it looks the way it's supposed to. So Wind all that together. Actually, no, I shouldn't do that. Okay. I think actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna go ahead and give Liddy just a little bit of color around her eye. There, that's better. Oh, let's see. I know there's a brush for fine hair. There we go. Don't know where it is because I don't use it very often. But I think for this, since we're going for a little bit of a more realistic painting look, we'll go ahead and just add some streaks of that in. Of course, we can do the shading around the ears. That looks good. The jacket needs to be darker. Yeah, like that. Let's see. Let's give that some texture too. I think it's gonna need it. There. I like that. That way it's just not quite so flat. Okay. I think that looks nice. Uh, let's give him. Color his waistcoats. Sure we get all the shading in there. And then I'll come back and do the shirts and the ruff and everything later, because that's all going to go on the bottom layer. We'll do his eyes, though. He definitely needs that. Oh, there we go. Okay, that looks nice. Happy with that. Same with Livy. Not gonna color or shade her feathers quite yet, but I will get everything else. I just realized there's a little streak of kind of mustard yellow that should not be there. So let's start with her beak. His beak is actually a mix of colors. When you at first glance, when you see her in real life, her beak just looks kind of like it's gray. But when you look real close, it's actually a little mix of colors. It actually took me a while to figure out how to get that just right when I was drawing the comics. I think I figured it out pretty well, though. Let's Can't imagine that if Libby was wearing a dress, that she wouldn't have it with some kind of poof or frills or something on it. I think she would likely insist on that, actually. Just give her a little. There we go. Nice little dot of white right there. Blue around her eye. Perfect. And now, last but not least, we get to draw Pippin as or we get to color Pippin as just an absolute melted mess. Again, which is something that he does in real life quite regularly, so this isn't even that much of a stretch, all things considered. Persistence of memory, that's what it's called, the Salvador Dali painting. Just now happened to remember that. I have no idea why, but that name just now came back to me. That's what it's called, persistence of memory. Okay. Get the tree behind him colored in. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and put in a little bit of a sunset here in the background. So whenever I'm painting some kind of sunset like this, what I do at least is I'll fill in the layer with one solid color first and then lock it. And then I'll get a thick watercolor brush. Start adding in sunset colors. That's, and then because it's all locked in one layer, I can just blur that. That looks pretty nice. Now for these last couple panels, they actually will get their speckles. Go ahead and just fill in those buttons just while I'm thinking about it. There's the color I'm looking for. There we go. No, I'm gonna give him. There's its whiskers drooping. So I think all in all, that looks pretty good from a coloring standpoint. Only thing left to do is to do the shading for the white fur and Olivia's feathers. That's going to go in the background. Now I get to do all these little spots inside his fancy ruff. Got to shade all of those. Which again, I didn't even think of until just today when I was actually drawing it, and I realized, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to go in there and get all these little nooks and crannies, but oh well. so that's that. His hand there in his jacket. With his wing feathers. Melting. It's ridiculous. Okay. So now that we've got all of that finished, and I'm really happy with how that all turned out. So let's go ahead and you can put some captions on some of these. Oh, let's see. Maybe it would help if I put a year on this. Make it look really historical. Let's see. Early cave paintings. Probably figure out. Oh, you know what? Let's go with. That looks like a good round number to go with. Let's see. Maybe it would help if I could type. Heard rumor that that often helps. Do the same here. I just realized I don't know how to spell this name. Tutankhamun. You always hear him called King Tut. You never really think about how to spell the name. It's too small for me to click on it. And then last but not least, let's see, when was this painting actually done? I should probably know that. I'm going to put years in. 1930. Right, excellent. Just to make sure that I make this look as nice as possible, turn on some drawing guides, put boxes around all of these. Not going with the usual speech balloons just because no one's really speaking or narrating anything this week. They can just be more kind of little informational boxes. So sorry, I hope no one gets motion sickness from the twisting everything around and upside down. It's sometimes easier to draw a straight line vertically, just depending. So sometimes I do rotate that a little suddenly, so I apologize for that if that's a problem for anyone. We can go ahead and just fill all of those in. There we go. I think that looks pretty nice. So yeah, with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. You will be able to see, if you want to just stop and read this more, the full finished comic will be posted on my home website, floofandfeatherscomic.com. You can also catch it on Instagram. I'm on there as well on social media. If you want to follow along and say hi and get regular ongoing updates as to what's going on with my comic week to week, or if you just want to say hello and you know drop a like or something, that's always appreciated. If you weren't able to catch this on live stream, you might be watching it now on YouTube. I do have recorded versions of these that I post there every weekend. So if you're ever in the future not able to catch a live stream, don't worry. You can still see the full video of each week's comic coming to life. So not to worry. And on top of that, if you want to help support Floof and Feathers even further, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/floofandfeatherscomic. In addition to just helping to support the comic, you can also get access to lots of amazing bonus rewards. You'll be able to get access to early comic outlines and preview sketches before the finished comic is released. So you get a little bit of a heads up on what's coming week to week. You can also select every month a physical print of a comic of your choice, and that will be sent to you, a 5x7 print of that. You can also get exclusive monthly sticker packs, as well as monthly wallpapers that are available in mobile and desktop format both. So definitely want to check those out. So, lots of fun bonus content and rewards if you want to sign up there and help support the series and continue to bring it to life. But with that being said, just want to thank everyone for joining me, for being here to watch this. Hope you enjoyed reading the comic, and I will see everyone next time. Bye.